Welcome back to part 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog 8-bit, and this time we're going into the jungle. And this was a very frustrating level for me. Don't let the speed by which I'm moving right now deceive you. There were a lot of things going on in this level. First off, I noticed that the graphical quality of the waterfalls plays with your eyes a little bit. Made it kind of difficult to do certain things. Also, these walls. Some of these walls are solid, and some of them are not. And the ones that are solid, well, that was just me sliding off of a log. I don't have any real defense for that one. So, like I said, some of these are solid and some of them aren't. So as we swing around here on this log, one thing that shows up in these jungle levels are these logs to use to get around the stage. And, they're pretty useful. There is stuff that sort of flies around sometimes. So here we are once again with our secret villain. This time, though, we're hit not by the log itself, but by the enemy who was over there. And then I found this little, I guess, shortcut. I'm not really sure. I think this was the supposed to be the easy path for people who couldn't navigate the very top of the stage. And so we find our way, and there's a second checkpoint in this level. Now, there's a lot of times that I died in this level that aren't shown. I was nice enough to show some of them, like falling off of that log. And I'm not done dying just yet. Because remember that solid versus not solid wall problem that I talked about earlier? Well, you're about to see it again. Right down here. Okay, so it looks like maybe I can jump across and get up on the other side, except, oh wait, that's solid. So no, I can't do that at all. So now we're down to 2 lives, and the leap of faith puts us down to a single life. And as you can imagine, I'm getting fairly frustrated at this point. Particularly as I realize that I have to go back and use the green ramp that's back there to get back up to the top part of the level. And the reason I don't like this is because I think it means that I have to manipulate that curve, like by rolling. I end up finding another way, just picking up enough speed and jumping, and so I jump over it. Now, it's been my observation so far in this game that if you've ever seen a one of those springs, it's never been helpful. Those springs are always going against you. But fortunately, we get an extra life for some reason. I'm not actually sure what reason it was. I don't know if it was score or time, or maybe the game was just taking pity on us. So that we can then go from the first jungle section, which is hard, to the second jungle section, which is even harder. Here we're going to be working our way up this waterfall, which sounds easy enough, except that, again, that waterfall plays with my eyes. I know there's not a lot you can do about that. I mean, these are 8-bit graphics blown up probably a little bit more than they were intending. But it was at this level where my previous strategy of, sort of, dying and restarting and just cutting that particular life out. On this stage, I gave in whole hog to saving within the level. And I don't know if you'll notice it or not right away. It'll probably be little time differences or ring differences or something like that. Also, the thing where I turn into a circle when I have the shield, that appears on my TV when I do that too. It's not that's not just a screwball thing here. No, that's actually what it looked like when it was being recorded, and I do not know how to stop that from happening. And so here I find the checkpoint, and now I'm going to be careful because these little logs they can behave in a couple different ways. They can be temporary things, or they can move around. If they're not moving like this, they're usually just temporary. I was able to bounce up to the next height. And that was another problem I ran into at this level, is that if you tried to save yourself too much on a jump, or if you did too much jump, you'd end up falling down, back down the stage and having to go through a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, there were these spikes. And these spikes were terrible because I kept running into them, obviously in the stuff that didn't make the cut, just because I would jump a little too much. So here we are. This is looking like we're getting close to the end, and thank goodness for that. I think you'll notice it took to get through the first two stages of the game, it took about, 15 minutes of actual recording time. The next two stages, the jungle and labyrinth stages, as you can see here, they took twice as long. And so here we are going up to fight the jungle boss. This is another place where I got hung up for a while. Not getting to the boss, that was easy enough. You just follow these little green thingies until they send you into a bowl-shaped green thingy. But this boss was kind of annoying for a couple of reasons. One, he drops the bombs. If you hit the bomb, you die. If the bomb explodes and you hit the smoke emitted by the bomb, you die. If you can avoid doing those things, you can kill him pretty quick. Also, if you try to jump off the sides by accident, you'll die immediately, even though there was floor there just a minute ago, because you used that floor to get up there. But if you can avoid the bomb, you can get through this boss, just like we did there, and then you can head on to everybody's favorite Sonic level, and that is the Labyrinth stage that has lots of water. Whether you're in Sonic 1, the 16 bits Labyrinth Zone, or Lost Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 4 Episode 1, the idea of these levels is usually the same. We're trying to sneak into Dr. Robotnik's back door by going through his underground labyrinth. And we're bouncing through a lot of springs. And we need to breathe air. I thought I was fairly lucky. As you watch me play around with springs, trying to get into a particular spot, I thought I was pretty lucky as far as the drowning was concerned. I didn't experience any drowning. You are going to see the little drowning timer. And there's another mechanic of this stage, is those little platforms that are slightly discolored are actually elevators. Now here you can see I am running out of time. Fortunately, you know, ordinarily I would sort of panic in this situation, start running around. Fortunately, I didn't do that. Unfortunately, the hit detection on these spears, you know, is pretty sensitive. I didn't really think that I had actually landed on the spear, and it said that I had. I absolutely believe that I ended up in those spikes. So that was a warning for that mechanic. The elevator that goes up into the spikes. There's going to be lots of those. And because I'm playing around with sliding on the block, I go ahead and pick up some more air, since there seem to be a lot of big bubbles that come from that spot. And now, once again, we are in we're in an air warning. We can add to that the little orbiting spike ball. And that also tells you a little bit about the mechanics of the game. You have to be like 2/3 of your body out of water to actually get credit for breathing. So, good for us. Now we're trying to make jumps. I'm not exactly sure where those jumps are supposed to go. And once again, here we are. We managed to get to the water surface right at 1. And even if it had hung on 0, you know, we would have had about half a second when it hangs on 0 to try to get water. Right now, I just can't make a jump to save the life of it. So now I'm going to press this switch. I don't even know what this switch did. I'm going to take the extra life. Thank you, game, for the extra life. And I actually made a clean run through Labyrinth Zone on the first stage of the first act of Labyrinth Zone on the first go. You know, I didn't get any rings or anything special for it, but hey, you know, that was a lot more exciting than, or a lot better than my first run through of Jungle Zone. Right, so now we are in the everybody's favorite, you know, little water rushes, and Sonic games like to do those. You'll see them as sand rushes sometimes. And then I'm hit by the little ball that I didn't know was there. And although the game can be kind of unfair about, you know, if an enemy hits you with a projectile, it is possible to get hit twice by the same projectile if you go a certain way. On most of the occasions here in the water, if I get hit by something, I don't then get hit by the next thing. So it's a slightly more forgiving, perhaps. Yeah, in there I thought I'd stopped, but, you know, since I wasn't going to fight it now that I was here. We've got, right now the little gimmick is the things shooting little lasers. Fortunately, those fireballs or lasers or whatever they are don't have enough height to get where the bubbles for air are. Okay, so I got hit once by that thing, and then when I got down the second time, you know, I didn't get hit again. So I think that has to do with the timing mechanism of those things. I think it would be a little unfair if it was rapid fire enough that you couldn't respond to it. And once again, we are testing how much air Sonic can hold in his little hedgehog lungs. And I really thought that I was going to get, the famous stand next to air bubbles and still die from drowning. But it didn't happen. So we can continue on our merry way. And again, trying to wait. Oh, of course, I missed that jump. And then I got killed by the other one on the recoil. So that was my first death in Labyrinth Zone Act 2. And if I remember correctly, I think it was my only one, but we shall see. If I'm wrong about that, you will definitely get to check it out. So now we're going to hang over and hopefully get one of these big bubbles to show up. Come on, big bubble. There it is. And we get hit. And then we go into the spikes. And we should have died. And we didn't. And then we get hit again. Into a ring. So... And now we need air again. So we're back to this spot. There's our little jumpy friend. I think those enemies actually had... They either had some minor importance or there was a character who, in the Sonic cartoons, who was that type of enemy. So here we go. I have invincibility, but I need air. So let's see if invincibility gives me the power to ignore well, it doesn't. But you'll notice that, again, the game hung on 0 long enough for us to just get our head above the water. And now we can move a little bit faster. You can see that. And looky what I found. That is a Chaos Emerald. That is the only Chaos Emerald that I picked up so far this game. And it's the second one we've seen. So yeah, we're not going to get all 6 for the theoretical better ending. I think we're probably just going to have this one by the time we get done. And now we enter the boss of Labyrinth Zone. So what kind of tricks does Dr. Robotnik have for us this time? Well, the boss is sort of like the Bridge Zone boss, in that he'll do this number, and you've got to be careful where you stand again because you don't want to be hit. But there's a trick here. You need to make sure you're standing inside. You see where Dr. Robotnik's little engine is? You need to be standing on the near side of that, so that when the missile gets fired, it gets fired toward the middle of the arena, while you walk toward the outside. Although, if you adjust too quickly, you can see that will happen. Then you'll have to dodge it. But once you get the pattern down, not so bad. And I would definitely say that I had an easier time in Labyrinth Zone than I did in Jungle Zone when we started this thing. Alright, so now we are going to be moving into Robotnik's base of operations itself. Scrap Brain Zone. And hopefully that won't take an hour to record in order to get, about 15 minutes of footage. See you then.